and thanks to the universe and everything they've given me so that you can be present, and thanks to the land and the people of the land. And let's get started. And there'll be questions and answers. We'll be stopping in between to ask something. If there's something you want clarified, you can raise your hand. There's a person with that symbol with a hand raised up. Yeah. And we'll see how we go. And we'll put the content up. And we'll start with the slideshow. Guys, it's a good idea if you have your symbol up, even if you're not visual. So it just puts your letters up of your name, like the initials, and you can stay hidden if you need to. And it's lagging a little bit, but we've got it going. Okay, so today's webinar is, all my webinars are about trauma and memories and how you can use the sensory integration to help. And this one is called Health and Wellness because it's an overall, it's the last one of a 4-series webinars. And with that, this one has a bit of information of all the webinars in. So if you need more information, you can reach out and you'll be able to purchase the webinars afterwards. For everyone else, the price goes up a little, but for you guys for attending, you can still have it at the cheap price. Okay, and on my website is a painting that I did, and if you can see that I use the energetics of the color and how the palette is and how I apply it onto the canvas to give it a feel. And I'm all about the energetics of everything that I do in my practice and my life because I'm an empath and I feel things. So I like to share that energetics in how I work, and by tapping into everyone else's energetics, you can help someone on their level, what they need, not what you do, but how their body, their energetics want it to be. So let's look at the overview of today's webinar. And I'm going to be telling you a bit about my story, and we're going to quickly go through that because we've got about 100 slides. I don't know how we're going to do that, but we're going to manage for the day. And we're going to look at mind-body medicine because that's what it is when we're using the senses, and of taste, touch, smell, sight, and thought, and representing the TCM 5 elements and the emotions for health and wellness. I'm going to take you through that, the underactions and overactions. So for me, if it's under, you need to expand it, and if it's over, you need to contract the energy. That's the simplest way of saying how to work with it. And it's all part of our inherited nature and our epigenetics of where we came from. And it impacts people with anxiety, depression, stress, PTSD, ADD, ADHD, and chronic diseases. And with the senses, it's about finding the homeostasis of the person, not necessarily the homeostasis of the sense itself, but to put it into the best balance we can do. Because it's not going to be 100% perfect in every sense for every person. And then we're going to look at a little bit on how mind-body medicine works. We'll do a few things on interactive experience because it's an overview of everything. And if we have time, we'll do the microcosmic orbit breathing exercise. We'll chat about our experiences, sometimes as we go along, and questions and answers. So being an empath, in my energetic story, I can remember being in hospital at the age of 5 and knowing that I shouldn't drink milk. So that was a really big thing for a 5-year-old to remember for the rest of their life. And at 7, being hospitalized for scarlet fever and knowing that I couldn't take the pills. I actually hid them in the pillowcases and didn't tell my family about it because I knew that it wasn't going to help me, so I didn't want to do it. This knowing is my thing because my third eye is very open. There's also a story about how my dance teacher, because I ended up becoming a ballerina and a dance teacher and was with a ballet company, and my dance teacher, Shirley Regan, was part of Bandstand in Australia. She was the choreographer of it. And Mum had taken a phone call and said, oh, Shirley's died, and I just said, oh, it's okay, Mum. She didn't suffer. She had a cerebral hemorrhage. She went quick. And it took my mother weeks, with the old dial-up phones to get there and find out that what I told her was true. So I don't blame my parents for what has gone on in their life because I always knew as a child and could sense why they were like that. So I accepted that. And that's probably why I don't have the same sort of trauma around. A lot of people have trauma around their family, their mother, their father, their siblings, because I knew. And when you accept something, it doesn't cause a problem. If you're looking at energetics, you have to look at, from the Chinese perspective, 4 areas. And then when I have done everything to work it out, it actually says that I'm 100% yin. And so you could either be 25%, 75%, 50% to 100%, balancing those. In the Tibetan method, it makes up 5 areas, okay, not 4. But from the TCM perspective, when you're doing the energetics, they only include 4. And then I have the energetic of fire, metal, and water from the Chinese. And then with the Tibetan, it actually adds earth in. And then we look at yin and yang, and yin being more deep and internal and getting to the core of our soul and how we operate, and yang being external and superficial. So if you're more yang, you're more in your head, and reactive stress, acute or chronic, can influence you whether you are yin or yang. Wei Qi, and I like to say Wei Qi, is the first line of defense, and that's the immune system response to try and protect ourselves from pathogens in the body. And that is closely related to our internal organs. So if our lungs are not in homeostasis, then our Wei Qi is not very strong. But if our lungs are balanced, then it is strong and we can fight off external attacks. So that would mean that a virus or a bacteria coming along, and if you had problems with your lungs, you are more likely to catch it. Yang is more superficial in nature and flows on the surface of the body. It is governed by lungs mainly and kidneys, but is held in the sinew channels, which influence the organs, muscles, ligaments, and tendons. Gallbladder 34 is an influential point of the sinews, and the 8 Huey points are the convergence of the extraordinary channels or oceans of energies that represent the Huey points. And I'm probably not saying it correctly from the Chinese perspective, but that's okay to pronounce it. In kinesiology, we use the finger mode EM24 to look and see if that has popped up. Now, liver 13 is Zhang, which is yin organs. Central vessel 12 is Fu, which is yang organs, and it's in the middle cavity of the body, which is the stomach alarm point. Central vessel is for the qi, which is the pericardium alarm point. Bladder 17 is for blood. Gallbladder 34 for sinews. Lung 9 is for vessels, blood vessels and gathering and blood stasis. Bladder 11 is for the bones, and gallbladder 39 is for the marrow. Now, these points, if somebody had something wrong with them, you could use those points to help alleviate some of those problems. Now, if we look at it from an energetic layer, the skin is the closest one to the body, so it's the lowest layer. The muscles are next, so we're going from superficial to internal. The muscles are next, then the sinews, then the blood vessels, and then the bones. And TCM has many different patterns within it for the senses. And so we have the 5 senses, and we have the tongue is fire, the mouth is earth, the nose is metal, the ears is water, and the eyes are wood. And then overall, when we're looking at sensations, we have touch for fire, taste for earth, thought for metal, vision for water, and hearing for wood. Now, if we look at the table of my heavenly chart to look at the first energy that comes in from the year you are born, I have made up this chart, and we have the years and the elements. The bright pastel colors are the yang elements, and the darker colors are the yin elements. And so if you check out and write down which element you are and whether you're yin or yang, and which animal if you want as well, then you can figure that out. Okay, and then for those that are born after that, from 1974 to 2043, there